So the first night of the debate, Elizabeth Warren owned awkward soccer dad John Delaney. Basically, the entire night can be summed up as John Delaney repeatedly getting owned and him being totally unaware that he's being owned. Kind of hilarious. If he wasn't so insufferable, it would just be hilarious, but the degree to which he's insufferable makes any interaction with him cringeworthy. So let's take a look and then we'll discuss.
Democrats win when we figure out what is right and we get out there and fight for it. I am not afraid. And for Democrats to win, you can't be afraid either.
Congressman Delaney, your response?
So I think Democrats win when we run on real solutions, not impossible promises. When we run on things that are workable, not fairy tale economics. Look at the story of Detroit, this amazing city that we're in. This city is turning around because the government and the private sector are working well together. That has to be our model going forward. We need to encourage collaboration between the government, the private sector, and the nonprofit sector, and focus on those kitchen table, pocketbook issues that matter to hardworking Americans. Building infrastructure, creating jobs, improving their pay,
Thank you, Congressman.
creating universal health care, lowering drug prices.
Senator
we can do it.
You know, I don't understand why anybody goes to all the trouble of running for president of the United States just to talk about what we really can't do and shouldn't fight for. Problem in Washington is corruption. It is giant corporations that have taken our government and that are holding it by the throat. And we need to have the courage to fight back against that. And until we're ready to do that, it's just more of the same. Well, I'm ready to get in this fight. I'm ready to win this fight.
Thank you, Senator.
Wrecked. Totally, completely, utterly wrecked. Mortal Kombat, fatality, flawless victory. What are you doing on stage, John? What are you doing on stage? You know what's so offensive about a guy like John Delaney? His arguments, he's like really lazy with his corporate centrism. He's not even giving arguments that give you like a moment's pause where you go, let me think about that one. That might be a decent point. It's just, it is the most lazy, standard, cut and dry, bullshit, cliche responses from people who are gaslighting to protect the status quo. He says stuff like, me, I want to run on real solutions, not impossible promises. I'm not in favor of fairy tale economics. There's not a single thing that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are proposing that haven't been implemented somewhere else in the developed world and worked. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Because there's the wealth tax, which Elizabeth Warren is running on, which I'm not sure. I don't think Scandinavia has a wealth tax. But let's put it this way. Over 90% of the policies that Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are proposing have been implemented in other developed countries, and they work, and they're massively popular. So, because we know what Delaney's referring to. He's talking about Medicare for all, and he's talking about free college, and he's acting like, come on, bro. I'm running on real solutions, not impossible promises. Why are those impossible promises? If other developed countries have done it, and they've done it successfully, and they actually work better than our system, why are they impossible promises? I don't understand. Well, yeah, the Republicans are going to stop it. We could have had the same attitude back prior to the passage of the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. We could have had the same reaction in the face of Jim Crow. We could have been like, come on, bro. The right is going to block anything we try to do. So, like, black people, go use your own water fountains, and we have to keep separating the races and get to the back of the bus and shut the fuck up. Like, this is the mindset. The mindset is FDR, during the Great Depression, saying, hey, we should do a new deal and we should like redistribute the wealth and give people jobs and tax the rich. And John Delaney trots in with, well, actually, we should be in favor of real solutions, not impossible promises. You really think you're going to build like infrastructure all around this country? Is that what you think? That's what you think? Are you really you want to create like programs like Social Security? War on poverty. Oh, you want to wage a war on poverty? You want to do like Medicare and Medicaid and stuff? I mean, I've run on real solutions, not impossible promises. So in other words, it's just a lazy copy and paste response to any and everything that would actually improve the system. That's all. It's easy to say that, John. If anybody ever proposes a solution that would actually work, it's easy to just go, bro, that would be hard. No shit. That's not a point. That's not an argument. Step aside, because we actually want to fight for it. He's so annoying. Real solutions, not impossible promises. I got news for you, buddy. The things that you are calling solutions are not at all solutions. If we implemented John Delaney's healthcare plan, how many people would be uninsured? How many people would go bankrupt because they couldn't pay their medical bills? You want to talk about a two-tier system, two-tier healthcare system. If you implement John Delaney's healthcare plan, what happens? Whatever public option he would come up with would be massively underfunded, and it would redirect people right to the for-profit health insurance companies, which are ripping them off today, to this day. His solutions are non-solutions. His solutions are to protect the status quo. His solutions are to do the bidding of the corporations. His solutions are to say, tweaks around the edges, but no further. We tried that, son. That's what Obamacare is. Obamacare is a right-wing healthcare reform. Obamacare originated, it's an individual mandate system. It originated with the Heritage Foundation. They came up with the idea. Why is it right-wing? Very simply, it keeps the for-profit health insurance companies in control of the system. So we've tried the tweaks around the edges. And guess what happens? They get obliterated, and their approval rating is usually around 50%. What happens when you do bold universal programs? It becomes political suicide to try to cut those programs because like 80% of Americans or more love those programs. He's embarrassing. He really is. Fairy tale economics. In other words, copying Scandinavia and being a thriving social democracy. Fairy tale economics. We have to just accept that half of workers in America make $30,000 a year or less, or 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and we have record levels of suicide and depression and anxiety. You gotta accept it, bro. Gotta accept it, because we gotta run on real solutions, not impossible promises. And then the most hilarious part of this, and I'll wrap up this segment on this point, after he rails against impossible promises and fairy tale economics, he goes on to say, well, what we have to do is focus on kitchen table, pocketbook issues. That's what Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are doing. That is not what you're doing. I can't take it. I can't take it. He's the worst. It's like he was created in a lab to be the worst possible candidate. He literally rails against Medicare for all, and then immediately in like the next sentence will be like, but I am for universal health care. The only way to get to actual universal coverage is Medicare for all. You slimy, sleazy, grotesque little weasel. Step aside, move along. Your 1% is embarrassing. Let me ask you a question. Why did this guy get like a disproportionate amount of the time compared to everybody else on stage when he's polling at 1% or less? You know what? I shouldn't be complaining, because if anything, he makes our ideas look better, because they are.